Hello and welcome back to another Fun Labs video. Today we have a very special episode as this will be a build video, which will actually be complete this time, not like the last time I tried this. Today we are building the Shershen-class torpedo boat from the Soviet Navy. This will be the first members only video. Hopefully there'll be a lot more build videos, as they are quite fun to make. But with my way of building things, it's a little difficult. It's a little difficult to show how I actually build stuff. But anyways, yeah, you can see me quickly tracing out and building the hull. I wanted the slope at the front to be a lot more accurate to the actual angle, but I couldn't manage. But, well, that doesn't really matter, it's only a meter longer and it doesn't really affect how it looks in the end that much. So, working on the underwater parts of the ship here, or the boat. I changed it up a little a couple of times. This hull has actually been very easy to make, which was very nice to work with. Also, this whole underwater section here will be changed from alloy to metal just to help with stability, because that is a very big problem with this ship. It's just the stability, pitch and roll, and yaw is actually pretty good. So yeah, now that's done. I've changed the tracing picture a little. Just rotate it a little, which I see now I really shouldn't have done, but it doesn't affect it too much. So anyways, you will see me pause the game a lot, and that's purely because I am looking at reference images. I had taken a lot of screenshots from the game Sea Power, naval combat in the Missile Age. Very good game, by the way. It has some very accurate Cold War models, which I will begin using a lot more now, as it's much easier to find. Well, it's much easier to use these models instead of trying to find 3D models online. Can highly recommend the game, especially if you like making replica builds in front of lips. Yeah, working on the rudders here. Also a good thing I have Sea Power, because I would never have guessed that this thing has 3 rotors and 2 rudders, which I could only see in Sea Power. So, making the angle deck, which will run down the entire length of the hull. Adding these angle decks really helps the build a lot. Instead of having this flat, boring hull, you instead have an angled and interesting hull. Instead 2 times. Oh my god, I am tired. So yep, just refining it a little here. And now I begin working on the weapons. First off, being the AK-230. Both these guns are situated in between 2 blocks. Back one here is on the horizontal plane, while the front one is on the vertical plane. I did not want to do that right now, right at that moment, so I was building the superstructure instead, which will be a pain to make in reality. So here you see me get ready for making the weapon. I put it on a piston, move it 0.5 meters forwards, and begin building. It uses a lot of spin clipping, so if you are not a fan of that, well, that's too bad, first off. But it was the only way to get a somewhat effective weapon in this tiny little space. I had 1 meter of space to work with, vertically. You try getting an effective weapon in that space, you can't. Besides, it's very exposed anyways. I don't use ejectors, I don't believe in them. And in my combat testing, I haven't seen this thing actually explode, so that's a good thing, I guess. But yeah, this will be a CWIS AA gun. It will focus on missiles first, and then target enemy planes and small ships. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but, you know, as you can see, it fires a lot of shells, and a lot of muzzle brake. It actually almost tips the whole boat over. Especially with 2 of them. That would be able to just capsize the ship immediately. So I add a muzzle brake, which I don't like doing because it adds inaccuracy, but, you know, we throw so many shells at the enemy, we can't possibly miss. And changing the shells up a little, we now get it to 1040 rounds per minute, which I am happy about, and start making the turret cap instead. This will be heavily decoped, but I make a mistake in how it looks. It's too little mantlet, too much everything else, which I don't intend on fixing because, well, this fleet is not actually like completely Soviet. It's more Soviet inspired, which is just a bad way of saying I suck at building one-to-one replicas, so I take a lot of creative liberties. You will see. That's also what happened to the Onslaught. That was meant to be a one-to-one replica of the Software Mini, but yeah, so a lot of things went wrong. Missiles had to be moved forwards, I think. Yeah, forwards. Guns moved back, and it's a whole thing. There's a reason I called the Onslaught, not the Software Mini. But here I start working on the gun mantlet. I actually thought this whole gun would be a lot more difficult to make with how rounded it is, but it was actually pretty okay. Manageable. Also, making that multi-barrel, which will further increase the inaccuracy, but it makes the barrel deco a lot easier. Now, just a warning, this is not an effective ship, this is not a good ship at all. It's only like 38k materials. It's that cheap. It's small, it's tiny, and if it gets sneezed at, it dies. Because of the very weak armor, so instead, this will most likely be used to capture territory and zones I just haven't gotten around to capture. Here I'm trying to find a very specific barrel mesh, which I then find here. Barrels here are very simplified, and now I see a mistake I've made in the barrel designs. Because of how multi-barrel decos work, they will be mirrored weirdly, which means I should actually have 2 poles above the main barrel to make it actually even, but that's something I can change in the future. Yeah, looking back at your footage is actually a pretty good thing. But yeah, here we see one of the mistakes. Mantlet is too thin, and the gun housing is just it's too big. It's not good, but again, creative liberties because I am bad. I might use the CWIS gun, or at least the turret cap, on other projects in the future, maybe a Sverdlov or something. Also doing some little test firings just to be sure that the whole gun actually looks okay while firing and rotating. Not a whole lot going on here, just me decoing. I will cut out most of the decoing because I was building for 2 hours. If you had to watch me deco for another 4 hours. That would just be unbearable. Just watching decoing at work is just so boring. Here we see the problem with the front gun, that being that it's 0.5 meters, like it's in between 2 blocks vertically. So put on a spin block, make it spin clip, and I need to hide the gun internals because they are clipping out, which I will do in a little bit. Right there. Yeah, now the guns are in. So I steal a mast from the turn tool. Well, it's not really a mast, is it? It's whatever that thing is, I just stole it. I do that on a lot of ships, actually. It's a very old deco I have, like years old. It just works, it's simple. Simple works. Like, you don't have to decope your ship so much. Here I think I am looking at torpedo angles. Like how the torpedoes are placed on the ship. I will make them 5 degrees, or angle 5 degrees out. And I will just use the same torpedoes that I have on the Bravi destroyer. As you will see here. Also a lot of the same decos for the torpedo tubes. That name's incorrect. That's not a 5853. That's a 5856 torpedo, but who cares? Also, a fun little thing. The Shershen actually had guided torpedoes, which is, I feel, is very weird for a torpedo boat. I feel like they should always have like unguided torpedoes, but I mean, this thing can be used for anti-submarine purposes in real life, so I guess I can use that. I guess I can use it for that role in the campaign too. Also, the Seawiz is very good, so I could use it to escort larger ships on a budget compared to the Bravi. But yeah, I am right here. I'm just stealing the torpedo launch deco from the Bravi and making it fit a little better. I wanted the tips there to show on the torpedo. The color will be changed on the torpedo, don't worry. And here I remembered there was a very specific mesh I wanted, which was the cram interface screen, which it works so well for a pedestal. So I took that, and there is a finished torpedo launcher. Now getting into the right position on the back was a little finicky, but it was fine. I managed it. Firing, it looks very nice. I do remember to add a 1 turn later, don't worry. Also, I forgot mirror mode on the deck here, which I will which I fixed right here. Trust me, there was a very big sigh right there in real life. Just God. Making the whole little cleaner now, and actually working on the interior, internals, I should say. I couldn't be bothered to make an actual fuel engine myself, so I just took a prefab, and it works fine. There is enough engine power to even fuel a little ECM jammer. And now adding a little bit of internal armor, which I promise does not help in real combat. The armor is simply so bad, it's unbelievable. Never use just 1 meter of alloy for anything except for like secondary role ships. Even like even there, if it's not a ship, if it's a ship that's not supposed to be in combat, just use wood. It's a lot cheaper. Of course, alloy is very light. So here I am setting up the AI. Very simple. The PID tuning was a nightmare. Having such a small little light ship, just it's very unstable. And as you'll see in just a second, it likes doing spins, or like flips, when it actually gets engine power, when it gets moving. As you will see here, I just thrust is too far down, so I could have changed the position of the propellers, but I decided to be stubborn and didn't do that. Instead, I went and used about half an hour on just PID tuning. I should really just move the thrust, but done is done, and it works now. And here I'm changing the lower power to metal just to help the stability a lot more. I still roll a lot and pitch a lot, which is why I placed a jet engine at the front to manage pitch a bit more. Here I am doing some PID tuning, which did not really go well, but adding in the ammo now. It uses a surprisingly high amount of ammo for such a small thing. Finishing up the AI compartment, there is basically no EMP protection or anything. The superstructure will have some surge protectors, but I really don't think it'll do a whole lot. One EMP strike and this thing's dead. Again, it's made to look pretty and serve secondary roles, not being direct combat. So testing it again. The stability is still not good, but it's fine. As you can see, CWIS is decent. It stopped a Marauder cram, which is not a difficult thing at all. I did test it against some other ships with more missiles and more cram cannons, and the CWIS is actually very good when it does have ammo. Now working on this superstructure a little. It was very difficult to get like all the right dimensions and stuff, and like this superstructure here, it has a lot of open spaces and masts and railings and stuff, which the tracing picture is not that good at showing. Like a lot of the white parts that you see is actually open air in between railings and masts and stuff. So I had to spend a lot of time figuring out what is solid, what is not solid, what is walkable, what is not walkable, what is railings, what is just air. But I think I did pretty well at the end. Also adding in a little detail, 99% of people won't see a door and later also a little electrical box thing. Continuing work on the upper superstructure here, I measured out how long it is and scaled a slope accordingly. I scaled it wrongly here. It should go all the way back to the end of the superstructure, but I didn't do it that time, and I will change it later. Also, this deco for the antennas will be changed a little later, because it's too big, it's too fat. These little antennas, they do add a whole lot. to the just to the ship. Small details that you wouldn't normally think of putting on ships is always a good idea to add on. Like, may seem trivial to add these little antennas here that doesn't even work, but in the end, like, they just add so much to it. If you looked at the ship without these antennas, this wouldn't look the same. Also, here is where things get a little tricky, because part of the superstructure is enclosed and part of it is open, which I had to figure out myself which part was open, which part was not. Did figure it out, and I did add some mannequins in the open parts. Sorry. Blech. Just had to move the ship out of the way. Yeah, those green box things that are ships out of play can be really annoying. Yeah, here I'm tracing out what is open. It's pretty well scaled to normal mannequins. I changed their scalings to 1.1 and 1.15 maybe, the mannequins. And now I am adding a little detection mast. I should not have made the mast out of alloy. I changed it later to heavy armor, because I noticed it kept getting shot off. Also here I should have moved it 0.5 meters back, but I couldn't be bothered, so I didn't do that. Doing a little combat testing against the Marauder. Everything seems to work here. I was noticing that half of my torpedoes were not firing, so later I went in and changed the firing arcs, which then led me down a rabbit hole of one turn and timings and whatnot. It's still not completely perfect, but it's better than nothing. Doing a little AA testing, CWIS testing here. I managed to destabilize the strike before it could even launch the bombs, so I was just testing out the CWIS. I had not put any settings on it, so I stole the settings from the Terran tool, which those settings I had stolen from another ship. I think it was a Steel Striders one, and edited to my liking. So here I wanted to do some combat testing against the Terran tool, but just couldn't get it to fire its missiles, which I wanted. Yeah, which was a shame because I wanted to see how good the CWIS actually was. But yeah, this is basically all the building done. Now it's just for decoing, which I will not show. I will show you the finished product. Here it is, unfinished. It still looks pretty cool. Alright, and here is the finished product. The superstructure here, or the mast here, was not that difficult to build actually. And we have some mannequins here. I love posing mannequins, but anyways, we have a lot of little decos here. Some side deco here. The torpedo colors have been changed to gray. And we have some decos here at the back. On the water, the propellers here got some love. Very simple, very easy to do. Also added a little white line here, which is not easy to replicate here. So don't look too closely at that. Also this little anchor thing here. All in all, this has been a very enjoyable build. Very quick one compared to what I usually do. For its stats, it's 36 meters long, 9 meters wide, the hull is 7 meters, but it has these rudders here. And it's 13 meters high. 620 blocks with a volume of 1,191. Most of its firepower is in the missiles, but the APS is pretty close to it. It has a top speed of 29 meters per second. And if we put it up against, let's say, a... What do we put it up against? Maybe just a little Laco here. Yeah, this thing has missiles. So. As you can see, all the missiles fire now. And the guns do gun things. Wait a minute, the Laco's missiles doesn't work, that's right. Do they? I have no idea. Wait, that was a bad combat testing. Let's put it up against what has a lot of missiles here. Yeah. Also torpedoes. Yeah, the Banshee. That has a lot of missiles. So we should soon see all these missiles just get completely deleted. You know, if they actually get seen. Alright, maybe I overestimated the effectiveness of these Seavers here. But as you can see, not really that good at actual combat. And I think all these shells are used up now. That is embarrassing. Anyways, yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed this build. It has a lot of little details and moving parts and, you know, just very enjoyable. I will put this on the workshop under unlisted or private, and you will have access to the link here. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. This is my first members only video. And as I said, there will hopefully be a lot more. So I'll see you guys in another video. Bye bye.